in getting there, and hopefully it all works out in the end. So, okay, we've got a shortened show today. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Talking Niagara. It's Tuesday, July the 9th, and today's session is brought to you by Spin Legal, by Invictus Legal LLP. So go search out, everybody. Go search out Spin Legal on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, and you can watch it on any of those channels tonight, 6 p.m. Okay, and we'll be talking about case law and how it impacts your case. All right.
So we got a sponsor, Invictus Legal. So where's my salary?
A kind of remember, Invictus Legal is paying for this streaming.
Oh, they're paying for the streaming. Oh, okay.
So hey, I'm just doing what I should be doing every day.
Oh, Betty Zoom's already there. Hi, Betty.
Yeah. Haven't seen Mike yet, but I'm sure he's around. Okay, so it's Tuesday, July the 9th, and welcome to our show. It's all about politics, leadership choices, and the impact of that impact on the Niagara region. So, wow, I thought we just said hi. The impact on the Niagara region, right? Okay, so some of the stories today. Niagara farmers are pitted against grocery stores, and I don't know. We seem to get this every year. It's kind of grocery stores are being increasingly forced to say buy local, right? But the buy local prices are not always competitive.
Well, they are paying going rates for their strawberries or cherries or everything else, but they're putting them in very inexpensively into their stores. Now, what that means is that is what is called a loss leader. They have a term for it called a loss leader, which means they take a loss on that to coax people into the store.
Yeah.
And that is got the local farmers a little peeved because they can't do that.
They're talking about strawberries. Well, it is Wimbledon season after all, so strawberries are on us, right? It's this 2 weeks of strawberries, and but strawberries come in all shapes and sizes. They come from Ontario, the rest of Canada, the USA, Chile, and other places as well.
Well, the fact of the matter is the issue here is local.
Yeah. Local is actually more expensive than many of the other more distant ones.
Well, quite often what the article is saying here is they're talking about local strawberries where the big grocery stores buy strawberries or cherries or other things grown locally, and then reduce the prices on them, take a loss on that, put local strawberries $3.99, whereas the farmer can't sell it for anything less than $5.99 or $4.99.
Well, actually, the example here is DeVry's Fruit Farm is offering strawberries on its retail store for $6.50 a pint, $12 for 2 pints. Zares offers it for 340 grams for $5. Food Basics is selling 545 grams for $3.99 California strawberries.
Yeah, but the big problem here is the issue in the article is that the local farmers are objecting to local produce being sold more cheaply in the stores than they can sell it. Now the stores buy it locally, but they reduce the prices as a loss leader. In other words, get people into the store.
Yeah.
So they'll take a loss on the strawberries in order to coax people into the store.
But again,
the farmers The farmers are saying they can't do the same thing. DeVries, of course, we know them. They have a big farms and they sell their produce. They also sell it at the farmers market. Well, they can't match the prices of the grocery store. They should. What they want to be doing is selling them on an equal level.
Yeah.
But the grocery stores will reduce the price of local stuff just to draw people into the store.
And again, the part of the problem here is that they can't absorb the cost. So when they're going to the farmers market and the like, those they can't be offering at the same price as they can't offer their produce at $3.99 for 545 grams because they just can't do it. Well, part of the challenge here is what's a pint versus 545 grams. I know 545 grams is a pound.
Yeah, I looked it up. It's around a pint is around 450 grams.
Okay, so they're approximately the same thing. Yeah,
But on the other hand, Zehrs to St. Catharines are selling 340 grams of greenhouse grown strawberries for $5.
yeah.
So anyway,
And
so
probably Zehrs in Niagara Falls is doing probably the same thing, right?
sure.
Let's be honest about it.
So it's a market strategy. The market strategy for large grocery stores, says DeVries. DeVries is the spokesperson here from DeVries Farms. They offer those prices as loss leader, and they make it up with customers buying other things. And he's complaining here that since COVID pandemic, DeVries said he hasn't raised prices on many of the farm's fruits and vegetables. We've absorbed the cost. So
Yeah,
they're fighting. Although the local store or local grocery stores or the big grocery stores are saying, "Look, we have local produce," but at the other hand, they're competing with the people who are producing that.
well, the other question about this, of course, is that how many of you out there go and buy them from the farming stores? I have, but I have to admit also I haven't done that a lot since COVID.
Well,
COVID killed that part.
I just bought a basket of strawberries, or cherries, uh, a basket of cherries a couple of days ago at one of the Niagara-on-the-Lake farms
Yeah.
stands.
Okay, that's good. I have to be honest that COVID killed a lot of that business. Many of those farm stores that we used to go to are no longer there.
Well, you can still get it at the market, the farmers market on Saturday. Don't forget that keeps happening.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
what you're going to do is you're going to get fresher right off the farm produce if you go there, but it is convenient for people
don't
just to go to
don't
the
expect
grocery
them.
store most of the time.
Yeah, just don't expect them as cheap as the grocery store is going to be.
Yeah, I would. I remember one time I was on my way home from work a couple of times, and I was buying strawberries. And the guys I was driving with says you can get these cheaper local stuff cheaper at the store, and I said, yeah, but this way I know the farmer's getting the money
Yeah, yeah.
directly.
This farmer's getting 100% of the money rather than 50% of the money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I told them I'd rather pay more and give it right because I knew back then that they did that loss leader thing.
yeah.
They would
Oh, yeah,
they would short themselves on a certain product so they can make it up in other places by the volume of groceries you buy. Well, local farmers can't do that.
yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
uh, I
Well,
knew
local
I
farmers
knew that
do
I could
sell.
get strawberries cheaper at the grocery store, but I also knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
So I was buying. I'd buy them at the stands on the way home from work and pay more for it, but I knew that it was a fair price
yeah.
for the farmer.
Well, the other thing about that, of course, Dave, is there's less stands than there used to be 5 years ago.
Yeah, I suppose so, but we don't get a whole lot in Niagara Falls anyway. Don't
No,
forget though,
I
like
know.
I haven't been to the farmers market this year yet,
Oh,
but I
Yeah, I've been to the farmers market in St. Catharines this year. I bought apples from them. I haven't bought any strawberries. I rarely buy strawberries anyway. I'm not that keen on them personally.
I love them, but strawberries are already finished. It's cherries that are on the table now.
That's true.
And it's always better to buy local. Well, in the last few weeks, I've been gorging on Ontario asparagus. There's not a asparagus dealer around here, but as far as I know, but there's Ontario asparagus where I buy my groceries, and I've been gorging on that for the last 3 weeks. I maintain that Ontario asparagus tastes better than other asparaguses.
I'd agree that the good thing about Ontario asparagus is it's actually fresh. You're getting it fresh. It's a good thing. I think the best tasting asparagus that I've ever had, I got it out of Munich in Germany. They had the white asparagus, and it was lovely and soft.
Oh, that's because the Germans put all kinds of MSG on it, and you got duped.
Rubbish. Well, again, we got a lot of them straight off the farmers' stalls.
I remember seeing a farm that made white asparagus for Hitler, grew white asparagus for Hitler when I was in Germany back in '74.
It's not a good selling point, is it?
No, is it? No, it was a farm. Well, the area itself, but
yeah, this was probably somewhere like down south, like Birch's Garden or something.
Yeah, it's around there.
Yeah,
not Birch's Garden. Birch's Garden is where Hitler had his hilltop.
Yeah,
sort of
beautiful, absolutely beautiful place. I've been there a number of times.
Birch's Garden.
To Birch's Gardens town, yeah, a township. It's a beautiful place.
But have you been up to the Birch's Garden where Hitler lived?
Doesn't exist. That doesn't exist anymore. The Eagle's Nest does not exist.
Oh,
it was destroyed at the end of the Second World War. I've been to the city of Birch's Garden or township of Birch's Garden. Absolutely beautiful village on the.
That's in Austria, and
no, that's in Germany. It's on the German side.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the asparagus I was talking about was more around Baden-Baden.
Yeah, I used to get them. I used to get it in Munich because I lived in Munich for a while.
Well, aside from all that, we find that our farmers are struggling, and what the big grocery stores are doing now. The grocery stores come back with, well, we buy a lot of local stuff, and sell it. So we're kind of committed to buying local and selling it. But I would say to them, don't buy local stuff and undersell it. If you're going to undersell anything, undersell pears from Chile or undersell oranges from Spain, but not local stuff. Yeah. Don't hurt the local farmer. Buy their stuff and sell them at a fair price, so you don't hurt the farmer who's also selling it.
It always bothers me when I go into a supermarket and I see local produce like cherries, like apples, like pears at various times of the year being sold at way more than bananas that have come 3,000 kilometers at least to get here.
Well, if you're going to get your bananas, they're probably from Costa Rica, even the pineapples from Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And Costa Rica, of course, is a developing country that has a standard of living less than us. Plus, they have Nicaraguans picking it for near pennies. That's part of the reason why you get it so cheap.
Yeah, but again, when you think about it, the cheapest things we're getting comes from Costa Rica, or other South American nations, and that's cheaper than locally produced stuff, and it shouldn't be.
Well, I've been buying oranges from Spain, and I can't believe they're the same prices as for oranges from Florida.
Yeah. But again, that's a thing. That's a thing. They are shipped over at pennies on the pound, if you think about it, from those places.
I suppose so, but the fact is that I have no problem buying oranges from Spain here, but I do have a little bit of problem buying local produce when I see that it's being undersold. So,
Yeah.
or as a lost leader.
Yeah.
But
And
I don't know how you resolve this because the grocery
yeah.
stores are buying local.
Well, the
Somewhere
grocery
along the
stores,
line, they are supplying the local farmers with money because they're buying local
yeah,
and then selling it in the stores. The problem is when they do that, they're going to get a discount on the stuff they buy from the farmers. But when farmers trying to sell their stuff locally, they have to compete with their own product in the grocery store.
yeah. And Canadians are open to paying 5 or 10% more for Canadian grown produce, dairy, meat, and other overall US alternatives. But again, it's kind of tough for those farm stalls, um, you know, yeah, farmyards selling. Ontario Across Ontario, buying local supports 871,000 jobs and contributes 51 billion to the provincial economy, which is more than the auto sector, by the way.
Yeah, what you want to do is maintain your farmers and your agriculture here in your own province. You can support that. And the reason why you want to do that, of course, is you don't want to keep importing food that becomes costly and then it puts you in a vulnerable
Yeah,
situation if there are supply chains disruptions and all other things. So what you want to do is have maintain a local agricultural sector so that you can feed yourself if you need to.
yeah,
Plus, it is true how much people they employ. They don't just employ Ontarians. They also employ a lot of people from the developing world uh, seasonally. So you have people
yeah,
from the Caribbean and Central America and Mexico coming up here, doing work and taking the money back home. That saves us money. Plus, it gives them an income, which helps the world in general. So Ontario agriculture is essential to the local. Plus, we know that I think it's $1.5 billion just in Niagara. The agribusiness in Niagara is like about $1.5 billion, and it sustains a lot of jobs. So it's very important to key up on this. We've mentioned this many times on the show. Anyway, it's the regular Ontario agricultural production is important to the province. It's important to everybody. Support your local.
yeah. All right. I think we've done that one to death.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Moving on. Oh, we do have some comments, by the way. We do have some comments. Okay, um, so why is it they're not paying? They're not working together. Should the local stores not promote Ontario fruit? Yeah, absolutely, they should.
Yes,
Um,
but just the idea is they have to sell it the same as around the same cost as a local farmer. If they use the local stuff as a lost leader, which means they take a loss on it just to draw you into the store, so you buy other things. What the local farmers are
not
saying
helping the
basically
farmer though.
do that with something else. Don't do it with local fruit
Yeah,
and vegetables at a
do
time
it
when
with
we're trying to sell them too.
bread or something like that.
Well, you can do it for fruit or vegetables from offshore countries,
Yeah,
but not local. Like we're
yeah.
not going to be producing bananas here, so you can sell bananas cheaper. We're not going to be selling pomegranates or
Well,
pineapples here,
said
so you
bananas
can.
are about the cheapest, but still.
Yeah. So that's basically what I'm saying. If you want to have a loss leader to draw people into your store, here's a deal. You can get all these strawberries or cherries for real cheap. What you're doing is competing with the local farmer with his
Yeah.
own product. So you don't want to do that.
I've been
If
looking
you
for an
want a
old
loss leader, do it with something that's not local.
Yeah. I've been looking for an old fashioned donut with orange glaze. I think I can find a bakery with with an old time donut. Well, there are plenty of bakeries around that do donuts. There's one on King Street that does a lot of choice on donuts. King Street in St. Catharines. I can't remember the name of it, but it's popular in our office. I know that. I'm not much of a donut eater.
Well, there's the donut trees, and I don't know if they're indigenous to Ontario.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on. Giant roadside art. Niagara-on-the-Lake resident proposes 16-foot installations. He wants to put in place some giant roadside art. Basically, it's not going to be on the side of the road. It's going to be within your garden. It's likely to actually be cutouts of trees and things. And there's this is similar
this is a guy by the name of Ron Clavier.
Yeah.
Wants to put 16-foot size art installations dotted across the agricultural fields across the community, similar to the popular figures created by artist John Kearney of Salinas Valley, California. Basically, he wants art at the side of the road, big kind of 16-foot murals. So as artistic depictions, apparently, go ahead.
I was going to say, apparently, Niagara-on-the-Lake has actually agreed to remove public art from the sign bylaw.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that they're going to support him.
my only problem is if you see a nice piece of art off into a field and it's there for you to see, but if you're driving, you're looking at the art and you're looking at the road, you're looking at the art. Wherever they put these things, I think they should put them at straight strips of road so people won't look and not make the curve, or something like that.
Or even have a lay-by there so you can actually come off and go look at it.
I don't think that's the intent. You can't do that for all the art pieces.
No, I get it.
Supposed to be stuck in agricultural fields, but that's a nice idea to have art along the side of the road to break up the scenery in that. But usually, agricultural areas are nice to drive through anyway.
Yeah.
So if you had, I would rather see these big signs in ugly industrial areas where you drive through, rather than in agricultural areas, which are pleasant to drive through in the first place.
But the thing is, you've got Banksy, who's done the industrial areas, or people like him who graffitied the industrial areas to make them look good.
Yeah, which I will also complain here about our own graffiti artists and how terrible they are. We got the worst graffiti artists ever. We've got these big complaints about graffiti all over the city.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder. Well, there's two reasons for that. One, you shouldn't do it and deface public property. And two, if you're going to do it well. You stink, graffiti artist Niagara. You stink. Go back to Paris Art School or wherever you think you have to go. How come we got the worst?
Yeah. At least do a at least if you're going to do a building, make it look presentable.
Yeah, Bansky, you are not.
Yeah.
And anyway, so Clavier says that people love them, these big murals, and he's convinced the councils agreed remove public art signs from the bylaw. The artwork, Clavier's got an artwork called Day's End, and it has been featured in Niagara Orchard Vineyards, Niagara Stone Road. So basically, the ones that he's trying to copy are the ones that sort of celebrate farm workers and farm life that has been in California.
Yeah. I don't know. Copy's not the right word. He's still working on these original works.
Well, he's got one already in Virgil. but that's in a place where it's not controversial. So basically, he's looking for these big art displays. I don't know how long they'll last, how much they have to be renewed, but it's a nice idea.
Mm.
It's a nice idea, and we'll see how it works.
Well, he's talking about them being printed on composite vinyl and aluminium, and that it is graffiti resistant.
Oh yeah, because you can wash off the graffiti. Well, yeah, that like I said before, um, we shouldn't have graffiti artists down here because they don't know what they're doing. They are terrible graffiti artists. Stink. They stink. So
The ones that amaze me are actually the ones that get up onto the tops of buildings. They're tagging about 10 foot down off the edge of a building, where there's no platform to be able to draw the art in the first place, and they must have been hanging off by their toes or less.
well, maybe that accounts for their miserable production and how terrible their work is.
You really have got this bee in your bonnet about how bad they are, haven't you?
Look, I was in Portugal last summer, and they got some of the best graffiti I've ever seen. It's fabulous stuff, and even though I mean it's a pain in the ass there too, but it was really good graffiti, man. Wow, it was
Yeah.
super. I think it was art, but and all the old condemned buildings and things like that. It was just some of it was just absolutely excellent. Nevertheless, so graffiti resistant artwork. So as soon as you put up that big sign that's going to bring in the Mike says, what did Mike say?
We'll come back to that in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in a minute. I'm just saying that we've got that one upcoming anyway. All right. So we've got an article about that upcoming.
I don't know how much more we can say about these sort of murals, big art displays, but Clavier has convinced the Niagara-on-the-Lake City Council that they can remove artwork from signs. We'll see what happens. Who's going to pay for it? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So moving on. Niagara Falls City Council is preparing for a repeat of the same protest about women objecting to Mike Strange, and that is what essentially Mike was talking about.
Yes, Women of Ontario Say No is a group, and we know from our last meeting that they came to the council with signs and were tossed out. Basically, they did not cause a disturbance, but according to our own decorum laws in our own city hall, signs are not permitted. This is irksome for a lot of people because is it a constitutional right? Now, I read what the city prepared as an answer to what was presented in the newspaper and what is presented by Women of Ontario Say No as anti-constitutional. However, the city maintains that they are within their constitutional rights to restrict that kind of demonstration in the in a council meeting. Even though it's a public forum, there are rules that, according to the city, are applicable in places like that will restrict demonstrations, even if it's just a sign with people standing there and not making a fuss. However, there are some city councils that permit signs in their council chambers. We will see. I think even the region allows signs as long as there is no voice to them. But our own city council rules say no, and they have defended themselves with their rules.
Yeah. The only thing about it is that I think I think silent protest is not a problem.
The
It's
problem
when
is,
come
what if you were a counselor and you had a lot of people coming in and saying, Peter Giblett's a goof, Peter Giblett's this or that, and you know what I mean?
yeah,
Or
I mean,
not just say, not even put your name, but
yeah,
let's say you proposed to have, you know, a signed bylaw, or you're opposed to that big art mural, and a lot of people come in and say, art mural,
yeah,
fascist,
but again,
that kind of thing. Everyone knows it's
come on,
directed
come on.
towards you.
You know, Dave, that every politician who puts themselves out there, who makes a statement, particularly if you were to make a statement, let's say, taking that example, I was opposed to those artworks. I'm putting myself out there as being critiqued by those people that support the artwork. Absolutely.
So you're an artwork fascist.
In that
Artwork
in that
fascist.
particular example, right?
Artists of Ontario say no. So look, you're. I make it a little bit light of this, but that is their argument. Like, I'm just being the devil's advocate here. I
I
don't
know.
know where the
I
bounds of
actually
law are.
I
Now,
believe in the right.
constitutionally, it appears as if they are permitted to have non-disruptive demonstrations of a kind.
Yeah.
But within Ontario, it's mixed how much demonstration you can put uh, in the council.
Yeah.
Like when the council was full up with firefighters and they were thinking of cutting the firefighters, uh, moving the firefighters dispatch to save the city $230,000. I think the average councillor was rather intimidated, wouldn't you think, when the whole place is full of firefighters
Yeah. Yeah.
in, you know, in their firefighter uniforms or whatever, you know, so there is some justification, or they would argue. Anyway, we would have to see what kind of um, legal pronouncements on this. They say it's a constitutional right. Others say it's the right of the city to be able to control their meeting in that space.
Well, the
Uh,
Canadian Constitution Foundation has said that it's warned the city that it could face a constitutional challenge over over the arrest and the single and the sign ban.
so, who are the Canadian Constitution Foundation?
Good question.
Are they illegal? Are they really a legal outfit? Do they have lawyers speaking on their behalf, or are they a citizens group?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Let's just see whether I get an answer. Canadian Constitutional Foundation is a registered charity based in Calgary, Alberta, that describes itself as an independent and non-partisan organization with a mission to defend the constitutional freedoms of Canadians.
Well, there you go. It is a charity. Is it their opinion of the Constitution?
Yeah.
When you have any kind of judgment on the Constitution, it quite often depends on the judge
Well,
and how he or she sees it. Either he, she, or they see it,
yeah.
I should say, these days.
Well, they're basically saying litigation. They take on legal cases involving free expression, healthcare access, property rights, and civil liberties, often challenging government actions through their they view as unconstitutional. Through initiatives like the Runnymede Society, primarydocuments.ca, they provide more awareness of constitutional rights among students, lawyers, and the public. So that's their educational side. Public advocacy, they publish reports, host events, and produce media content like YouTube videos and podcasts.
Well, uh, so we don't know if they really have gravitas, basically, if they
Yeah.
really have the cred to be able to make these pronouncements. And it's, from what I can see, it's their opinion based on how they read the Constitution. until you put it in a court of law. I don't know. The city itself, if you go to the agenda and you see the response of the city to that, I think it was Burgess that wrote it. He writes a very convincing article saying we were well within our rights to restrict that kind
Yeah.
of even of a silent demonstration of that kind. And we have known that the law does not restrict people who are alleged of beating women or abusing women, and that is a delayed court case or a prolonged court case that's in the courts now. And we've asked that moral question: if you were a counselor accused of that, do you stay on until, or do you withdraw until the case is resolved? If you withdraw, some people say, oh, okay, well, he must be guilty. He's not there. Other people will say you got to get out of there because it looks bad. So you have a split decision among the public, and there is no law or rule anywhere that says that an axe murderer can't be on the council if to as long as he's out on bail.
Well, until a decision is made, even actually, I believe under our system of law, prisoners can still be elected to, elected to government.
I don't know. Yes. The only thing I'm looking for, the only thing I'm worried about is anyone that gets elected with a little wee mustache that just goes underneath his nose.
Well, the classic example that I had, there was a by-election. There was a by-election in Northern Ireland at the time when this IRA prisoner was doing a he was on a fast. He was fasting himself,
starving. Yeah.
He was called Bobby Sands. So he actually stood for he stood on the by-election and he won as an MP. He never went to Parliament, but he was the shortest surviving MP. Lasted about 15 days.
Is that the guy that died? He
actually died. He did die. Yes.
Yeah.
He lasted about 68 days or something like that.
Well, that's devotion. Wow.
Yeah. And he got himself on the ballot and won the election. Yeah. Wow. But that's the extreme example, but we don't, generally speaking, in our way of law, prisoners and former prisoners can be on elected bodies. But it would be very difficult if he got found guilty. It would be very difficult, I would think, for him to continue on as a city councillor.
You've got a convicted felon as the president of the United States. I guess you could be a councillor or an MP being a criminal too. Right?
Yeah, you see, the only thing, of course, that would have stopped Donald Trump being president would have been had he been convicted of sedition or treason.
Well, no, he's not interested in those things right now. Whatever he's doing, whatever. Anyway, I don't want to bring his name into it again.
I know.
The guy sucks the oxygen right out of the world media. He's got to be the most famous person that's ever lived. Seriously, I mean, if you think of all the people that know him,
and above,
you've got 8 billion people in the world, and I think 7 billion know who he is, if not the whole 8.
I thought is it closer to 9, but still,
whatever.
Yeah,
and because of public media and the fact that he's in the paper, radio, TV, videos constantly and forever. He knows that his opponents cannot stop talking about him, and that's what he knows.
I know. The whole 4 years that he was out of office, you could have seen his mugshot in on the news, on the web every day for those entire 4 years he was out of office.
Yeah, and CNN took a real plunge after the last election, after the 2020 election, because they had nothing to talk about.
Yeah, so they were soon back talking about him. Anyway,
Yes.
yeah. So basically, CAO Jason Burgess has specifically addressed the reason silent demonstration, and basically he's not a fan of it.
Yeah, Burgess has refuted how it was presented in the press. He
Yeah,
has refuted the constitutional foundation there. He's refuted all those and pointed out uh, legal justifications for what they do and why they can make that decision or not. It's up to the
I
council.
think.
It's up to, they have a system of decorum,
Yeah,
and are they, uh, you know, is it legal? He says it is legal and is necessary, and will, if there is a legal challenge to this, Burgess, and if you look at the agenda for tonight's meeting, and you look at the write-up that he made about this, it's a very good write-up and very, very convincing. However, the Constitutional Foundation is also convincing. So I have to leave my judgment out of this. I am a little bit unhappy anytime freedom of expression is restricted.
yeah.
But they say that you could have done these demonstrations outside of council chamber and so on.
I'm going to disagree with him. I think they should have the right to put there's a difference. There's a difference in my mind between people sitting there, wearing whatever they want to do on their t-shirt, saying whatever they want on their t-shirt, so long as what they say on their t-shirt isn't bad language or swearing or anything of that nature. They can make their silent protest all they want. There's a difference between that and a person standing up and going, yeah, 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 yeah. There's no room for the screaming from the public.
Well, they allowed an Italian lady from the Buchanan Street to really rip into the counselors, and they were very patient with her. And it was basically when the members of Buchanan Street came up to protest against the halfway house there, the homeless shelter there on Buchanan Street. They were very open to the kind of demonstration that was, even though it was a presentation.
Well,
Now,
what I was going to say,
she really ripped into them, and
Yeah.
they were very patient and allowed it to happen. It
I
was
was just
essentially a
about to say-
demonstration.
I was just about to say that you have to be patient even with people who are demonstrating vocally.
Well, yeah, and
You give them a
but when you
warning.
have a neighborhood group coming up there, and
Yeah.
they're pretty much making a presentation, but they're also a bunch of angry people there. They may not be holding signs, but they have to be quieted off and on throughout the whole thing. This was a bunch of people bringing signs in and not disrupting the meeting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, what is the difference? The people who come in from a neighborhood and disrupt the meeting because they're angry and they're put out, or do you get a quiet bunch of people coming in with a sign? But I would say that they're trying to get the law changed to make sure that that a man who has assaulted a woman cannot sit on council until it's resolved legally. I don't know if they can do that. That's a big reach because you have to reach into the constitutional law.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get your federal employee basically to get in there and to do something about that, or your Ontario
No,
legal systems.
I think it's a federal thing.
Yeah, so if it's a constitutional thing, you're going to have to change constitutional law.
Yeah.
In some way. So that's a big reach.
Yeah, I think it's a federal thing. I could be wrong, but I think it is.
Anyway, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Because I got a meeting, and Anyway, everyone, thanks for listening. And I'll be pulling the pin now
Yeah.
because I have a Kiwanis meeting. Looks
Okay.
like our bingo may be extended. Kojiko has offered us more time.
Oh,
Bingo.
excellent.
All right.
Okay. Well, good luck with that, and hope that goes well. And do you want to sign off?
Yes, without further ado, I bid you adieu. Do not forget Gaza, that atrocities continue to happen, and Netanyahu is pulling Trump around by the ear. We'll see if Trump can stand up to him this time.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.